Welcome to the Virginian Report, your weekly podcast all about the news in the colonies today. I'm Clark Smith, and today we're covering what really happened 9 months ago on King Street. For any uninformed listeners, the incident on King Street, also referred to as the Boston Massacre, was a street fight taking place on the 5th of March in Boston. Without getting into too much detail, this dispute was caused by a fight surrounding the customs house, and led to 5 colonists' deaths with 6 more injured, giving it the title the Boston Massacre. Now we are joined today by Paul Revere, a local silversmith and revolutionist, and Captain Thomas Preston, a former British officer and a witness as well to the incident on King Street. To get us started, could you each give a basic explanation of what happened March 5th, 1770?
Well, Clark, I myself was not there that evening, but I can only say that it was nothing short of tragedy. Soldiers attacking an unarmed crowd who were peacefully protesting the Redcoats occupying our city. We've never seen such hostile behavior from the Redcoats. The air has been foul since.
Very upsetting, really. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Preston? I've heard you yourself were an eyewitness.
Yes, I was on King Street the night of the massacre, but I would not call it anything more than an unfortunate accident. Most of the violence went to the soldiers guarding the customs house, who were threatened and abused by the gathering mob.
I've heard many arguments about who started this massacre. Many believe that it was the soldiers.
I have also heard the idea that we soldiers fired with no reason, but for my involvement, I believe that it was the crowd taunting the soldiers to fire.
You ignore the sheer impotence that is attacking an innocent and harmless crowd. It surely shows a lack of well-intended judgment from your troops. The audacity to house these prats of soldiers in our fine residence?
Gentlemen, let's avoid this derogatory language. Let me remind you that this is meant to be an informative podcast.
I apologize.
Now, Mr. Preston, he brings up a fine point. Do you have any comment on the housing of the British soldiers and colonial residents?
The fact of the matter is that soldiers have been placed in Boston due to uprisings among the citizens. Much like the mob we saw 9 months ago, the soldiers are here not only to protect the king's land, but his people as well. Therefore, I believe the issue of quartering soldiers in your homes is not a valid argument. They're here to protect the city and have nowhere else to go.
The people have a right to privacy as much as any citizens. To let soldiers sleep in your home and then be expected to feed them as well? It's absurd!
Now, Mr. Revere, some in fact believe the colonists were outside of their rights and incited the incident. What would you say to it?
I do not believe they had no reason. As I previously stated, our city has needed to house redcoats in their homes. This has already put bad feelings in the air. However, the most justifying event is arguably the death of young and innocent Christopher Sider. His death is thought to have incited the events that unfolded, and the actions from the mob, and rightfully so. A young boy with his life ahead of him, and killed by a Tory no less.
Well, it's a riveting topic. I wondered, however, how you both feel about the after effect this had on Boston and its citizens.
As I see it, the incident on King Street really separated the city, but the debate reached other colonial areas, even Great Britain, between those who remain completely loyal to our crown and the colonial mutineers. The air is ill at ease.
To call people who do not want to just lie down and take the king's treatment colonial mutineers is deranged. But regardless, how is it that you don't acknowledge the loss of family members and friends this has resulted in?
The loss of life is very upsetting. But what does seem to be the biggest effect on the colonies in general is the debate between those who stay loyal and those who choose otherwise.
Mr. Preston, Mr. Revere, thank you for coming on today. I believe this is a good place to conclude our discussion, and I am grateful for your share on the events that took place on March 5th. I would also like to thank anyone who lends an ear to our humble podcast and supports it. Tune in next time for a recap on the Rex v. Preston court case, and as always, have a fortuitous day.